before we get this party started, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, our friends over at Live Well. They have locations all over the state. They're running specials for everybody. So if you're in need during this quarantine, go hit up Live Well. Check out their website. You can online order and everything like that, and just go seamlessly pick it up. Also, give a shout out to our friends over at Live Nation. They're still doing the Live Nation couch tour, so to speak. Live Now is what it's called, where you can pick on-demand concerts at your will. So go check that out also. And then do we have another one? Also, if you want to make a donation to your local frontline heroes, the healthcare crew, things of that nature, Lunches for Clinicians has their GoFundMe. I think it's still on our page. It's definitely on theirs, Lunches for Clinicians. Without further ado, let's hit the music, Zane. Let's get this party started.
The suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians, and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
I got weed pots.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Stone de Petit, Quarantine Chronicles. We're coming to you, I believe it's week 6 of Quarantine Chronicles. My tan has started to fade, but my buzz has picked up mightily. And today I'm sitting down with a buddy of mine who he's in the same food group. We hit a bunch of the same events, all the same restaurants. I got David Ruin joining me from Boulder. How are you today, brother?
I'm good. Just don't know what day it is either. I'm just trying to get through this quarantine like everyone else. So, yeah.
It's just weeks of quarantine now. The actual day of the week is moot. You don't have to worry.
Oh, totally.
I mean, we, for a couple of weeks now, we've been dropping episodes, kind of getting insight from all sorts of different folks around our community, from restaurateurs and chefs to alcohol reps and, drug dealers and weed correspondents and everything. And now, we're going to kind of gauge the audience from, the patron side of it. And so I'm ready to kind of pick your brain about places you missed the most, the places you loved the most before we broke off. And then also, I mean, as this episode is dropping, you're technically virtually walking across graduation right now. Congrats.
Yep. Yeah. Yes.
That's what's up, man. That's a righteous, noble accomplishment. So I'm definitely going to pick your brain about that. Let our listeners hear a little bit about how graduating college in a pandemic is. That's got to be a story in itself.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah.
Yeah, but so for our listeners that don't know, David runs Mile High Bites on Instagram, and I'm sure blog and other facets as well. I'm not exactly sure if there's a blog website, but I'm going to let David tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously you're a young cat, so you got us beat by a couple of years. But tell us a little bit about how you chose UC Boulder. Where'd you grow up from? Are you a transplant or a native, etc.?
Sweet. So Mile High Bites, it's not a blog yet. It's hard to balance like an Instagram blog as well as like a website blog while I'm in school. So right now it's just an Instagram blog that's already taking up so much of my time. I am a Denver native, which is definitely not something that you always hear, which is so weird because we're in Denver. I've been called at a bunch of our events, when I say I'm born and raised in Denver, everyone's like, oh, like you're a unicorn. And for the longest period, I thought it was like a derogatory gay term. And I was like, I don't know if we can say that. But then I found out that it was like because I'm a Denver native. So,
dude, so that's our first question we ask all of our guests on, I'd say it's probably 87-13 transplants to native. So,
wow.
I mean, there's not a lot of y'all around.
Yeah, seriously. It's crazy. But no, born and raised, I absolutely love Denver. I truly can't imagine living anywhere else. Especially like, I think in high school, it was kind of boring in terms of like the food industry. And then around senior year, I would say like 7 years ago, it picked up and like the food industry like started skyrocketing. And it's just been so phenomenal to be part of this. And that's kind of how Mile High Bites came to be. is I would always take pictures of my food and just for myself, not for like my friends or anyone. And my friends in high school always said like, you should start a blog. And I always said no. I just like didn't understand what a blog would be like. And maybe I was like too young. I don't really understand. But then around 3.5 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I decided to start one just with like a bunch of content that I had. And at first it was private. It was just for my friends, just to tell them about like my background, because I'm a Russian Jew. So growing up in a household with a dad as a chef and a mom as like a Russian Jewish typical mom, food has always been so important. So just kind of sharing my recipes and sharing my thoughts on food. And
you're technically a real foodie. Like, I fucking hate that term so goddamn much. It sounds terrible. It just sounds like douchebaggery, you know? But like, you grew up in a house of like learned chefs. So like, you were like, we ate a lot of Popeyes on Sunday in my house growing up. You were eating like homemade meals made from like recipes and scratch and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very interesting because my parents are very diverse. My dad has this like chef experience background where like everything for him is about plating and like sauces, whereas like my mom is just like home cooked, like very fatty Russian Jewish food. It's so different, but they came together and made me and make some really good recipes as well. So, you know, and then that's just kind of how it started. And I've just been having so much fun ever since. My dad.
Oh, did I lose you?
My dad's, a little bit older, obviously, and so he just doesn't understand the Instagram whole part of it. So he has a restaurant in Denver as well. So I've been helping him with his restaurant and just like using any knowledge that I've learned. And so I have a scientific background, very far from social media or marketing. So before I started my life, I actually, what?
Smart motherfucker.
But I actually had to buy like 5 books. I bought 5 books, articles on social media marketing and marketing in general, just so I could teach myself this stuff. And it took off. So that's kind of my background, is a scientific background at CU.
What made you want to go to CU? I mean, I stayed in state from my school, so I won't knock you, but I was also dumb as rocks. I mean, going with a scientific degree, graduating on time from CU, you're obviously a very intelligent and bright child. What made you want to stick around? Was Yale and Harvard not open right now?
Oh, no. I wish. I had a few choices of out-of-state school, and then I started visiting colleges, and CU was kind of like at the bottom of my list. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think my biggest answer why I chose CU was driving on the US 36 on the Buffalo Highway. We were driving around sunset, and we went over it, and that just like, I'm getting like goosebumps right now. That just felt like home. Like that, I was like, I belong here, and this is it. So that's why I chose it, and I don't regret it at all. I love CU.
That's awesome. That's that, man. And then you kind of get to say that, like you're all encompassing and heavily entrenched in, not only your local areas, but I feel like we would be, before we even dive into like your favorite eats, and obviously you've been in Boulder, so we're going to pick your brain for the communities, for the college kids up there, but also for, you have, the lay of the land down here. But before we do that, what's the name of your dad's digs in case we want to go give it a whirl?
It's called National Restaurant, and it's a Russian restaurant. So before you go and check it out, let me warn you, they operate a little different than American restaurants. So the way a Russian restaurant...
how other restaurants operate.
The way it operates is that it's like a nice, like very nice sit-down meal, 5 courses. Like you can order appetizers, anything you want. And then it's also a club. So there's a dance floor in the middle of it. So between each course, you go and like there's a DJ and like you dance while you eat this like very nice dinner. It's super weird, super elaborate. But my American friends, I brought them there before, and they're obsessed with it. So
yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, I fucking love that. Get a little break, a little digestion, and get a killer beat in the midst of it. But I feel like, so this may be my ignorance showing, because I don't know a lot of, the Russian background, except for what I know from things like John Wick or Triple X with Vin Diesel. Is it a lot of like DJ scenes and that kind of music? Is that the kind of vibe we got in the restaurant?
Okay. I mean,
I'm telling you, I don't have a frame of reference. So is it like an authentic style, or is it like techno kind of EDM?
I like to think of it as Euro trash. So I would say like I'm very stuck in the 90s. So you'll have like all those 90s pop music and like Euro trash beats. So that's what I would say.
That sounds fantastic. They
do attempt at raps and rapping, and it's a live band doing DJ stuff. So it's just so wild, and it's just like an experience you have to like experience, I guess.
You've sold me on it, so I'm definitely down. And it sounds like it's a perfect place to do like a family dinner. Get a crew together. Where is it located?
So it's on. Okay, I'm like, I know I grew up here, but I'm so bad with this stuff. It's like Leetsdale and Oneida. Do you know? Like,
I used to work over in that way.
Yeah. It's right behind this Taste of India restaurant.
Okay, all right, and it slaps, huh? All right.
And you'll just always see like around like wintertime, like these like Russian moms, grandmas, and their like fur coats and like their fur hats, and it's such an exotic thing to capture that it's incredible.
When you said Russian moms and grandmoms before you said grandmoms, I thought you said mobs, and you had me. I was like,
oh, believe me, there's so many Armenian mobs there. It's fantastic.
Hell yeah! Well, if they're listening, we are pro organized crime. Do not. Big fan of it. Big fan of it. Eastern Promises was a great movie. So I'm thinking of all the movies now, and I'm like, I don't know if I can place a dish, but I'm really fired up about the whole ambiance thing. So I'm just stoked to try the meals afterwards. So
yeah, we should go sometime. Once this all opens up, we should definitely go. It's so much fun.
When the dust settles, sign me up. But
yeah.
But okay. So we were about to dive into some restaurants, but I wanted to know a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit of Mile High Bites. Sorry, the wine. So Mile High Bites, do you have like places that you work with exclusively, or were you like, you know what? I'm eating dank ass food like on South Federal. Like, where do you draw the line on being like photogenic and foodie, and then like just like Wendy's?
So I think I draw the line at when it stops being local restaurants.
Okay.
Because my dad is a local restaurant, I love highlighting local restaurants. Of course, there have been so many like cool opportunities with vineyards and wineries that like obviously aren't local. And I always say that in my posts too. But recommendations and stuff I highlight is just like the mom and pop shops, those like local restaurant places. I absolutely love. One of my favorites is, Alon Shaya's restaurant Safta. Like, that's not local, but it's just so true to my like Israeli background that I have to highlight it. It feels like home. When I go there, it just feels like home. So, I think I draw the line at like those big ones, like Chick-fil-A's, the Wendy's. Like, I think I draw the line there. But other than that, it's just, if it's something that just speaks to me, I'll promote you. And I love stories. Like, every time, something that I've noticed that I do that a lot of food blogs don't, or like food promoters don't, I come in with 7 to 10 interview questions. So to the PR team, before I come in, I tell them like, I have a few interview questions that I would love to ask like the GM or the owner, like anyone on your team who's willing to answer. And they've always seemed so shocked because I love the story. It helps me write the post. It helps me get to know the place better. So if it's a story and it's passionate, like, that's what I love.
Hey, you're not lying. I mean, that's literally where we've made the bread and butter of this podcast is supporting those local restaurants. And I couldn't agree more, but I will disagree with this. I think because Alon does call this one of his homes, I would still call it a local restaurant. It's a one-off. While because he originally comes from like Philly by way of New Orleans and all these other spots. Yeah. But I think, and what a great spot too. God.
Oh my God.
I love you, Alon.
That lamb ragu hummus is like insane.
Dude, your accent's hilarious.
Sorry. I didn't mean
it's so goddamn funny. No, that's great. It's like how you said that like I've noticed you accent certain words, and I'm not sure if it's like a Russian accent, but how you said ragu there, it was so great. I heard it earlier too. So run with it. Not hide it. Be yourself. That's great. But no, I agree with it. Yeah, we're not out here trying to I'm not calling on the GM of P.F. fucking Chang's or the Cheesecake Factory to see how they make their lettuce wraps. You know, that's